This is the door to an IKEA Hauga. It's a storage cabinet we put in our upstairs hallway that we're going to use as a linen closet. But what we want to do is change these glass doors into cane doors. So we bought a roll of cane and we're going to be cutting it and putting it on here. I'll show you how we're going to do it. This is the cane weave that Honden ordered from Etsy. She bought it double what we're going to need. So this is enough for 2 doors plus a little bit of extra in case it shrinks. So I've marked the middle right here. And the good thing about it, it's easy to cut because I'm just going to follow between these 2 lines of cane. Okay, now it's voiceover time because what I'm going to show you now is what not to do. This first door was a complete disaster. We did it wrong. We should not have soaked the cane first like you're seeing right now because the cane stretches when it's wet. So what we did is we soaked it, we cut it perfectly while it was wet. I even got rid of all the wrinkles. I spent all this time. We spent like a day doing this and we totally ruined it. But anyway, you see here we got it nice and flat, but it's still wet, so it's still stretched, right? So I'm gonna iron. I think I'm the total genius. We think we're so smart, but we weren't. So finally it's flat, it's beautiful. And now I'm going to measure it exactly to the door. And this is a huge mistake, because when it dried, it shrunk so much so that it pulled away. And you'll hear more about that later. But I'm showing it because I refer to what we did, when in the next part of the video where I'm talking again in real time. So yeah, you don't want to do this. So much time wasted, but whatever. What are you gonna do? Just a day, right? We have plenty more of those. Also, what you're gonna see is that we started with glue gun, with a hot glue gun, thinking that would work, but it doesn't. This is something you will need to do. I didn't touch upon this. Cleaning the glass is an important step. So there we go, and we're using that little spline, that little reed spline, which we're not going to be using in the future. You'll see, and I'll explain why, because we're going to go back to live right about now. Okay, we're back another day. So the hot glue failed. That didn't work. After about an hour, we heard a loud snap, looked over, and it had pulled away from one of the sides. That's because we wet our cane first, and when you wet it, it expands, and then of course it shrinks when it dries. So we had cut the cane to size while it was wet, and then of course it's going to shrink. And when wood shrinks or expands, it's really strong. I mean, nothing can really withstand it. So the reason we wanted to wet it was to get a perfect finish, because it's naturally wavy and bumpy, and if you just put it on there dry, I mean, it would be fine. It would look okay, and you can use hot glue, but you're never gonna have that professional stretched finish. So to get that, you have to wet it and allow it to shrink. It's what they do when they make cane chairs. They put it on a little bit wet, it stretches tight. So now we know that hot glue is not up to that task. It's just not strong enough. So we're now gonna use super glue. Super glue gel and accelerator. We've already done it. It works. We're going to show you again today. And what we're going to do differently with the next door is we've already pre-cut it. It's soaking right now. We put the cane on the door dry, measured it to size, and then we came in just a little bit all around. So when it's dry, it won't go all the way to the edges, but maybe, I don't know, a millimeter or 2 in all around. So the thinking is, when it's a little bit wet and stretched, we're going to put it on, and the cane will be a little bit bunched up like this towel, maybe. Let's say if these are the 2 ends. And we'll secure those ends, and then we'll work on securing the sides. As it dries and stretches, it should get to the perfect amount of stretch where it's going to get rid of all the ripples, but not so much that it's going to try to pull off the super glue. Because super glue is much stronger than hot glue in terms of torsional force, not torsional, tensile force, pulling. But really, you don't want to screw around too much with wood. When it wants to contract, it's going to pull anything apart almost. So that's the plan. We have our next batch of cane soaking. We're going to take it from there. All right, so I'm measuring this here just to show you guys. The window is 32 inches exactly long, which is right about here. You can see this a little bit. We actually measured it in to about here. So just soaking it gave it, what's this, about almost half an inch? Not a quarter, sorry. It grew a quarter inch just from that soaking from here to here. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot if that whole quarter inch wants to stretch when you've glued it like that. So that's why we're gonna glue it on a little bit bunched up. When it dries and contracts, it should be perfect. Just gonna dry the top a little bit. So super glue has really, really high tensile strength, pulling apart. It's very good at that. It doesn't have good compressive strength. In fact, it's not as weak as glass when it comes to that, but it can shatter. But for anything where you want holding power for pulling things apart, super glue is great. All right, I'm laying the cane on the door now. And you can see it's too big in every direction, and that's perfect. It's exactly what we want.
Only a little too big.
Yeah, only a little too big. It's going to shrink. All right, so I think let's start up here.
Yes.
And I'm gonna bring this all the way back against that edge. All right, I'm ready to start gluing this cane onto the door. I've already pre-cut some decorative molding we got at Home Depot. Now, the other thing I forgot to mention before is that we're not going to be using the bamboo spline for a couple of reasons. One, it was really hard with both the hot glue and the super glue to get it to where you didn't make a mess, especially with the hot glue, because it's so thin. It was almost impossible to get a line of glue that didn't either squeeze up behind it or squeeze out into the cane. So we decided that it would be a lot easier to work with something like this. The second reason was we only bought enough cane for 2 doors, and with the original one we made, since we cut it too short, it was basically ruined. There was no way with the spline we'd be able to make it fit. But with this, even with it stretching in a little bit, we had a lot more room to play with. So kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone. And it's, it is really easy to work with this stuff. So what I do is
and it looks much better too.
Yeah, it looks really good. I've already pre-cut these pieces and I've mitered them since they do have a profile, they have to be mitered. You can't just go square into square. It's not going to look right. So I lay it on, and then I just see kind of up to where it's going to come. It's essentially halfway between this one and the next one. So I put this skewer here just to tell me when I take it off, okay, that's where it goes. So now I look here, and this first line going across here, that's where I'm going to concentrate my glue. Going a little bit behind, a little bit forward, making sure that super glue goes onto the glass. I mean, that's really the important thing here. And then I just start gluing. And the beauty with this, like hot glue didn't give you much time to work with. You had to work in sections of about 4 inches, and it was a real pain in the ass. Gel super glue is not very instant, which is why I've got this accelerator, which is gonna make it instant. But I've got plenty of time to work across an entire line or even entire long line with this stuff. That's beautiful. Oh, and I need my glasses. I'm blind as a bat. That's better. So I Just pour it on. So I'm just going right across this line, making sure I get it into the holes. Every once in a while, I'm kind of tapping it into those holes. Okay. And I'm going to lay in this first piece. And with this, I want to be pressing here, not back here, because that will roll it back. So I want to make sure it's all nice and pressed. And now I'm going to spray this accelerator. Just one spray, just so it gets under. It's going to instantly set that. It doesn't matter if it doesn't instantly set all of it behind, that will cure in time. This will just give it enough that I can stop pressing on it. That is totally set in place. Down to the other end. Okay, here we go on the next side. I've got this lined up here. You can see this is buckling up here. I'm gonna put the glue on. Oh, first I need to put this on. Do my little skewer technique. Right in between these. Make sure it's in the middle. Yeah, that looks good. And now we're gonna lock it in place. Okay, now we're gonna let this dry a little bit because this needs to, the cane needs to dry out and shrink. So this gets a little bit tighter. And once it's pretty nearly flat, then I can go and put the sides on. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes. You can see that this is drying nicely and it's already pulled almost completely flat. So I wanna get these last two pieces on before it's completely dry.
The sound is coming from here. Okay, that looks good. That looks fantastic.
Let's start down here. This is Bob Smith Instaset Spray. Basically, you spray it on super glue and it will instantly set. Super glue, it dries fast, but it doesn't dry instant. This makes it instant. I can't live without it for my DIY stuff. Yeah.
Perfect corners.
I'm gonna turn this around and get the last side.
Now it's
Shop.
Penny. Do you want to also explain why you're choosing, like, not getting too close to the sides or not getting too close to the...
Yeah, the reason I'm trying to choose a middle line is I don't want it to squeeze out underneath either forward or back. So I'm just trying to stay basically, in the middle of where this border piece will be.
You're good.
Wasn't all the way in, and now it is. Yeah. I could use your hands on this actually.
Okay. Flip it back.
All right, this one is done. You'll notice I put some clamps on there because I wasn't aware that it takes super glue 24 hours to cure. I just looked it up. And just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna leave these clamps on for 24 hours just to give it a little extra support, while the super glue cures and while this cane dries and stretches. That may have been part of the problem we had yesterday, but still.